The Book of Ecclesiastes, attributed to the wise King Solomon, is a profound and honest reflection on the meaning of life. Unlike other biblical books, it opens with a startling declaration of the vanity of earthly things. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Yet behind this seeming melancholy lies a rich and transformative wisdom. Ecclesiastes is a call to humility, simplicity, and reverence before God. It reminds us that time passes, material achievements are temporary, and true joy is found in fearing the Lord and living with purpose. This book challenges human pride, the pursuit of control, and the worship of pleasure, pointing us toward a balanced life centered on eternity. As we study its lessons, we are invited to reflect deeply on our choices, priorities, and the legacy we leave behind. Here are 25 precious lessons drawn from this book that teaches us to live with wisdom, reverence, and contentment. First lesson: there is a time for everything. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. This lesson is a powerful reminder about life's cycles. Not everything happens when we want. There is a right time for every experience: to be born, to die, to plant, to harvest, to cry, to laugh. When we understand this, we begin to live with more peace and less anxiety. The secret is trusting God's timing and learning to discern the right moment for each action. True faith recognizes that even silence and waiting have value because they are part of the Lord's sovereign plan. Second lesson: trust and persevere. Ecclesiastes 11:6. In the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thine hand, for thou knowest not whether shall prosper either this or that, or whether they both shall be alike good. This verse teaches the importance of perseverance and continuous trust in our efforts. We must work diligently, not giving up, because we don't know which effort will bring fruit. God calls us to sow continually, morning and evening, trusting that He controls the results. Blessings may come from where we least expect, and daily faithfulness is rewarded in due time. Third lesson: injustice exists, but God will judge all. Ecclesiastes 3:17, I said in mine heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. Even amid injustice, Solomon recognizes that there is a final judgment. This lesson brings comfort and calls for trust. God sees everything and will act at the right time. Justice may not always come in this life, but it will come. The Lord does not ignore the suffering of the righteous or the wickedness of the ungodly. Our part is to remain faithful, believing that God is the righteous judge and that no act escapes His eyes. Fourth lesson: wisdom preserves life. Ecclesiastes 7:12. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense, but the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. Solomon compares wisdom to money. Both offer protection. But wisdom has a greater benefit: it preserves life. Money can provide temporary safety, but wisdom brings spiritual direction and discernment. True wisdom guards us from bad choices, guides our actions, and draws us closer to God. This lesson reinforces that investing in wisdom is more valuable than accumulating wealth. Divine wisdom is a refuge, a guide, and a source of life. Fifth lesson: no one is completely righteous. Ecclesiastes 7:20. For there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good and sinneth not. Solomon acknowledges the imperfect nature of humanity. This lesson confronts us with the truth that everyone sins, even the most righteous. It's a call to humility, grace, and forgiveness. We should not expect perfection from others or ourselves. We need God every day, and recognizing our limitation is the first step toward relying on His mercy. This lesson helps us live with more compassion and less judgment. Sixth lesson: God is in control of the future. Ecclesiastes 8:7. For He knoweth not that which shall be, for who can tell Him when it shall be? The future is a mystery. This lesson reminds us that no matter how much we plan, we do not have complete control over tomorrow. But this should not produce fear. Instead, it should lead us to depend on God. When we accept that the future is in the Lord's hands, we find peace. Anxiety gives way to faith, and uncertainty becomes an opportunity to trust. God knows what is best, and trusting in Him allows us to live one day at a time with serenity and purpose. Seventh lesson: the wise heart discerns the right time. Ecclesiastes 8:5. Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing, and a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. Knowing when to act is a mark of wisdom. There is a right moment to speak, to be silent, to move, and to wait. This lesson invites us to seek spiritual sensitivity. The wise person is not the one who always speaks or rushes ahead, but the one who observes, prays, and waits for the right moment. God works with specific times and ways, and discernment saves us from mistakes and leads us in peace. When we seek wisdom from above, we learn to move at God's pace, not our own. Eighth lesson: whatever your hand finds to do it well. Ecclesiastes 9:10. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. This is a call to diligence and excellence. The time to act is now. After death, there is no more opportunity to accomplish anything. Therefore, we must approach every task with dedication, whether big or small. Living with purpose means not wasting opportunities. Excellence in work is also a form of worship. Life is short, and each day is a chance to leave a legacy. Work with enthusiasm, as if serving the Lord. Ninth lesson: the race is not always to the swift. Ecclesiastes 9:11. I returned, and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favour to men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all. This lesson shows that things don't always go as expected. The best prepared doesn't always win. Life is full of surprises, and control is in God's hands. Instead of relying solely on our strengths, we must depend on divine grace. Humility comes from realizing that success doesn't come only from effort, but from God's sovereignty. Trust Him even when the outcomes defy logic. 10th lesson: a small mistake can ruin much wisdom. Ecclesiastes 10:1. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savour. So doth a little folly him that is in reputation for wisdom and honour. A small error can destroy a reputation built with wisdom. This lesson warns us about the importance of guarding even the smallest actions. Foolishness, even in small amounts, can damage what was carefully built. It calls us to vigilance, care in our testimony, and discernment in our words and deeds. Wisdom is not only having good ideas, but living with integrity. Integrity takes time to build, but can be lost in a moment. 11th lesson: don't neglect the time for wisdom. Ecclesiastes 10:10. If the iron be blunt, and he do not whet the edge, then must he put to more strength, but wisdom is profitable to direct. Working without wisdom is like using a dull tool. It requires more effort and brings fewer results. This lesson teaches us to stop and sharpen the axe, seek direction, knowledge, and preparation before acting. Wisdom saves strength, prevents mistakes, and increases effectiveness. Many burn out because they act impulsively without reflection. God invites us to depend on Him, listen to His voice, and act with discernment. Wisdom doesn't rush the process, it makes it more fruitful. 12th lesson. He who digs a pit may fall into it. Ecclesiastes 10:8. He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it, and whoso breaketh an hedge, a serpent shall bite him. This poetic image speaks of the consequences of evil intentions. Those who plan harm for others often fall into their own traps. God's justice may seem subtle, but it is sure. This lesson invites us to integrity. Those who live to bring others down destroy themselves. Instead of acting with malice, we must promote truth and peace. The Lord's justice is perfect, and He repays each according to their works. 13th lesson. Cast your bread upon the waters. Ecclesiastes 11:1. Cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. This expression speaks of generosity and faith. Casting bread upon the waters suggests a gesture of trust, giving without knowing when or how the return will come. This lesson encourages us to sow good, bless others, even without immediate return. Whoever acts generously will be rewarded in God's time. Kindness is never wasted, and God sees every act. Living by faith means planting even when we don't see the harvest. 14th lesson. The body returns to dust, and the spirit to God. Ecclesiastes 12:7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Earthly life has a certain end. Our bodies return to dust, but our spirit returns to the Creator. This lesson reminds us of our true origin and eternal destiny. We are more than flesh. We are eternal souls. This perspective changes everything: our priorities, our relationships, our pursuit of meaning. Those who understand that the soul is eternal live differently, with reverence, purpose, and preparation for meeting God. Knowing our spirit returns to Him should lead us to live wisely in view of eternity. 15th lesson. The whole duty of man is to fear God. Ecclesiastes 12:13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. This is the climax of Ecclesiastes, the spiritual and philosophical conclusion. Solomon declares that the true meaning of life is to fear God and obey His commandments. This lesson sums up the entire human purpose. No matter how much we know, achieve, or experience, what matters most is to live in reverence to God. To fear God does not mean to be afraid, but to live with respect, trust, and love. That fear leads us, protects us, and brings us into true wisdom. 16th lesson. God gives power to enjoy. Ecclesiastes 5:19. Every man also to whom God hath given riches and wealth, and hath given him power to eat thereof, and to take his portion, and to rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of God. Prosperity is more than accumulation. It's the ability to enjoy with gratitude. This lesson teaches that only God can give us the power to enjoy what we have with balance. Many have wealth, but no peace. Others work, but never rest. True prosperity is having enough to live well and a heart satisfied with what is given. When God is at the center, prosperity brings peace, not worry. Recognize each blessing as a gift from the Father. 17th lesson. Money is useful, but doesn't solve everything. Ecclesiastes 10:19. A feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. This verse shows a practical side of life. Money solves many material needs. It buys resources, helps in emergencies, and facilitates tasks. However, This is not an exaltation of greed, it's an acknowledgement of money's usefulness. The lesson is, use money with wisdom, but don't place your hope in it. It is a tool, not a god. True prosperity is knowing how to use money without being ruled by it. 18th lesson. He who watches the wind never sows. Ecclesiastes 11:4. He that observeth the wind shall not sow, and he that regardeth the clouds shall not reap. This lesson is a warning against being paralyzed by fear or perfectionism. Waiting for the perfect conditions to act is a trap that steals our chances to prosper. God calls us to take steps of faith even amid uncertainty. The real harvest comes from those who plant with courage. If you want to succeed, you must act, even without having all the answers. Faith doesn't wait for a cloudless sky. It trusts God and sows, knowing He gives the increase. 19th lesson. Better to hear rebuke from the wise than praise from fools. Ecclesiastes 7:5. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. Correction from a wise person is an opportunity for growth. Unlike empty praise, which flatters the ego, healthy rebuke challenges us to mature. It's not always easy to hear confronting words, but those are the words that transform us. True wisdom does not get offended by correction, but receives it as a gift from God. Better to be corrected in love than deceived by flatterers. Those who accept wise rebuke avoid many mistakes and walk a stronger, more faithful path. 20th lesson. The end is better than the beginning. Ecclesiastes 7:8. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Starting is important, but finishing well is even better. Many begin projects, dreams, or journeys with excitement, but few persevere to the end. God values faithfulness until the finish. Real growth happens between the beginning and the end, through challenges and tests. Patience is more precious than impulsive pride. This lesson encourages us not to give up halfway, but to keep going with faith and consistency, trusting that God honors those who finish their race with integrity and purpose. 21st lesson. Wisdom protects better than weapons. Ecclesiastes 9:18. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good. While many trust in physical strength, strategies, or riches, the Bible teaches that true protection comes from wisdom. Wisdom saves us from danger, conflict, and disastrous decisions. One wise person can save a city, while the folly of one sinner can destroy much. This lesson invites us to seek wisdom from above daily. It is not power or wealth that brings victory, but God's guidance. Walking in wisdom builds safety and wins the unseen battles of life. 22nd lesson. The righteous don't always prosper immediately. Ecclesiastes 8:14. There is a vanity which is done upon the earth, that there be just men, unto whom it happeneth according to the work of the wicked. Again, there be wicked men, to whom it happeneth according to the work of the righteous. I said that this also is vanity. In human logic, the righteous should prosper and the wicked suffer, but that's not always how life works. Solomon observes that the just often face hardship, while the wicked enjoy apparent success. This lesson warns us not to be disillusioned by temporary injustice, but to trust God's perfect justice. He never forgets the faithful and will bring full justice in His time. Our hope is not in immediate reward, but in the faithful and eternal God who rewards each one according to their works. 23rd lesson. Don't live stuck in the past. God works in the present. Ecclesiastes 7:10. Say not thou, what is the cause that the former days were better than these? For thou dost not inquire wisely concerning this. It's easy to idealize the past and think former times were better, But Solomon warns, it's unwise to live in nostalgia. God is working today, and each new day brings transformation, growth, and renewal. Excessive longing for the past can blind us to what God is doing now. This lesson invites us to keep our eyes on the present, trusting that God is always doing something new. The past teaches, but it's in the present that we walk by faith and build a blessed future. 24th lesson. The house of mourning teaches more than the house of feasting. Ecclesiastes 7:2. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. Though celebrations bring joy, it is in mourning that we learn life's deepest lessons. The pain of loss awakens us to the brevity of life. Solomon reminds us that reflecting on death leads to wisdom, making us value our days and seek purpose. This lesson calls us to live with sobriety, responsibility, and purpose, knowing every day is a gift. Mourning shifts our focus to what is eternal, not merely temporary. 25th lesson. True daily joy is a gift from God. Ecclesiastes 3:12-13. I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. True joy doesn't come from human achievements, but is a gift from God. To work, eat, and enjoy the fruits of our labor, these are divine blessings. Without God, even the greatest successes feel empty. With Him, even simple daily moments become sources of joy and gratitude. This lesson teaches that living well isn't about having everything, but about recognizing God's hand in all things. Simple, genuine joy is the reflection of God's presence in our lives. The Book of Ecclesiastes is an eternal echo across generations, calling our souls to awaken to what truly matters. Through Solomon's pen, God shows us that all earthly pursuits, when disconnected from Him, become vanity, a vapor in the wind. Wealth, pleasure, work, knowledge, all have value, but only find true meaning when surrendered in reverence to the Creator. Through these 25 lessons, we learn that life's purpose is not found in accumulating temporary victories, but in fearing God, obeying His commandments, and living each day as a divine gift. We are called to discern the times, act with wisdom, sow goodness, and seek the kind of joy that doesn't depend on circumstances, but on God's grace. May these truths not remain just in our minds, but be planted as seeds in our hearts. May we live more simply, deeply, and eternally, with the Lord as the center of our days and eternity as our direction. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Ecclesiastes 12:13.